Testing 1 2 testing 1 2 check. Think I'm on the internet. There we go. Good morning. Do a nice professional fade out on the music. Wasn't that professional? Good morning, everybody. Oh, I can't see the chat from here. Hold on. Where's it at? Behind my monitor. Here we go. But yeah, good morning, everybody. It's an extra stream this week. I normally stream on Wednesdays, but bonus stream this week. Thanks everybody for coming in. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating. If you're celebrating anything, welcome. Thanks for joining. Teddy just watched the last video. Appreciate it. Jason, greetings from... Nobody says New Orleans down here, dude. Nobody says it like that. Anyway, no, Jason is in New Orleans this week. We got to hang out a little bit earlier. Jason's been around for years at this point. I can't get rid of him, so I made him a moderator. And but no, we got to have a very nice dinner, and that was really cool. It's very cool when your internet friends turn into real life friends, which is a rarity for me, but I like it. Great time was had. That's right. I like to imagine while we're waiting, you're actually playing the wait music off camera. You guys didn't know that was me. I was over here just playing it all. Yeah. But so yeah, this was drawn by my friend Geoffrey Gwin, who might be here. And Geoffrey, feel free to chime in with any of your questions, comments, or concerns, and I'll ignore them completely. No, I'm kidding. I'll listen to you. And Geoffrey's a good friend of mine. It's okay. And yeah, just a fun commission with lots of interesting things to color. So I thought this would be a good one for y'all to check out. And thank you to the members that are here, by the way, too. Teddy, Mr. Woods, thank you. Jason, yeah, thank you all. All right, let's get this out of the way. And we're going to start flatting this thing, and I don't think it's going to take too long to flat, because it's pretty simple. We got a big werewolf thing, we've got Ash from Evil Dead, we've got Vampirella petting a demon dog. All your basic food groups are here. Everything you want. But and I'm going to also try, this is going to have a lot of... We're going to have some underlighting from below. We're going to have some lighting we're going to have some multiple light source stuff to talk about. And so, but if you guys have questions at any point throughout the process, just feel free to fire away. But let's start. Let's just start by breaking up all the big shapes. And so I'm going to separate the foreground from the background first, and good morning to all. And I am using Clip Studio. The inks are on a transparent layer on top. I cleaned this up. I should have done that on stream, huh? I usually get raw scans from Geoffrey, and so we got to get rid of all the blue lines and all that fun stuff. All I did in Photoshop, if you're curious, and there's some good tutorials on this. If you YouTube, like, what's the word? Non-photo, like removing non-photo blue from your scans or something. Like if you in Photoshop, yeah, if you do that, you can probably find a way to make that work. And you know what? I'm not going to separate all of that just yet. I don't need... Let's get rid of all of this, actually. Let's go this way. I kind of got lost in hair and... whatever these rock formations are. But yeah, I just want to basically trace an outline for the characters. And we'll just get them all at the same time. And when I'm flatting, I always try to start with the biggest, simplest shapes first, because, well, one, I think is the easiest way to flat, starting from big to small, but it also sort of forces you to think about your basic shapes. And so Geoffrey is, to me, a master at strong shapes. And so I will be trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll try to embellish and complement all of those shapes as much as possible. And I'll talk more about the like the color plan when I get done with the flatting part, because in my head they're just two totally different processes. And I don't like combining them. If I try to think about color while I'm flatting, I don't know, it's too much for my little brain. But I'm using shift to add to selections, and I'm using whatever button that is, alt or option, to remove, and I can never think of it. I have to look at it. Another thing that I will often do when I'm flatting, and I haven't yet, is I will very regularly just fill whatever I'm doing with the color, because now if, I don't know, my computer blows up, maybe the autosave, saves it in this state. And if I've just got a big selection there, it's not going to save it. So try to remember to do that. I think it's a good idea. I always get nervous watching, you guys know Nick Filardi. He's a friend of mine. He's another colorist. He's been working for a long time. And I always get nervous watching him when he starts his rendering. He'll do this hugely complex, shadows and light, and split all that up, basically finding like the main shadow light side, like making that separation. He does it with this very, time consuming, complex selection. And I'm like, man, if Photoshop were to crash right now, he's got like 30 minutes of work to do. I don't know how he does it. I don't trust computers that much because I used to work on them for a living, which means I don't really trust them at all. Those are certainly some strong shapes. Hey, yeah. We also have comedians in my chat every week. That's always a plus. Good morning, Chris. How's it going? Am I separating her from him yet? Not really. I guess it really matters. And tell you what, I'll go ahead and let's just cut him off right around there. And then we're going up this way. I'll have to change that. That'll work. I got a little bit out of what I was intended to do here, but it doesn't really matter. But yeah, if you guys have questions or anything about what's going on, or coloring in general, or whatever while I'm doing this, I'll attempt to answer. I think I can flatten and talk at the same time. Maybe. I kind of messed this up. This is what I get for not flatting very much. I really don't flat myself very often. But with these simple commissions, I like to think that that I can do it, and then I end up screwing them up. But anyway, and then I messed up her selection anyway. Yeah, this is sorry. I'm a professional. I promise. also, I need to set my... I'm setting the eyedropper to pick from the layer below so that it's not trying to grab, what do you call it? Like the mixes of the colors that happen between the inks and the colors. Because on the ink layer, it's not perfectly black and white. And anyway, let's try this again. I don't expect this one to take 2 hours like the last stream did. If it does, something terribly wrong has happened. All right, so we got those split up. Let's make him a different color. And I apologize for my voice. I'm still getting over little COVID finally. I almost made it 3 years without catching it. Almost. And I feel okay. It's just my got a cough that doesn't really want to go away completely. And this guy, again, the colors at this point don't really matter too much. I'm just trying to get everything separated. So we got, excuse me one second. Oh, hey, Geoffrey's here. What's going on, buddy? Yeah, Geoffrey Gwin is the artist on this, if you're just joining us. Like working on Geoffrey stuff. The period between Christmas and New Year's where nobody knows what day it is. That is true. Right now, I have to think about it. And I'm opening up the what do you call it? The color slider thing and just shifting it around. I guess it's about as fast as just separating, choosing different colors. It all works. Again, the colors at this stage are just not particularly important, obviously, as you can see. Anyone just joining is like, this guy's terrible coloring. Again, I apologize for all my sniffles today. We're just gonna all have to deal with it. Alrighty. And there's not much to do on her. She's not wearing very much. As she does. My favorite part of this costume from a practical standpoint is the collar, because you wouldn't want to be out there without a collar. What do you think about Alex Sinclair's method of coloring? He uses channels. He seems to use 4 layers at most to color. Yeah, there's many ways to do this. Marta Gracia is very similar in that way. He pretty much will have a layer for special effects, a layer for his rendering and like his flats underneath that you don't even see, and that's it. So I've done more I would say single layer coloring lately, just because I'm trying to get more comfortable with it myself. Um, but yeah, it all just what is that? That's hair. That's hair. Wait a second. Let's do that. And but yeah, it's all just depends on what you're used to, what you like. I think it also depends. For me, I am just allergic to redoing things. Like, I mean, like redoing, like rendering. Like, if somebody's like, "Oh, like paint this shoulder pad," no, repaint it. It's a different color. Um, I don't repaint things the way that I work. Like, it's very rare that I mean, I don't really get that. I don't get a ton of adjustments on my work anyway. But when I do, I I don't want to recolor it, and so I put more. My process is just different, like really different. Um, I don't really consider any part of it done until or completed or locked in until I am completely done. Um, and so working on multiple layers just means that I've got a little bit more flexibility. If I decide halfway through to like completely change the color scheme, it's just how my brain works. But yeah, Alex is amazing. Alex was one of the first colorists. Him and who was Edgar Delgado were some of the first colors that I remember like noticing that I like what they did, you know. And everything else can all be one color. I guess it really matters. All right, and what else do we need to separate? I don't know if we really need to, but I'll do this real quick. How we doing on time? 30 minutes. That's about as much as I wanted to spend flatting on this, so we're getting close. Yeah, I'll worry about the rest of him. I'm going to go ahead and just get the inside of his mouth separated. Just because I don't want to have to paint around these teeth. You can paint around a lot of stuff, but it's hard to paint around teeth. Alrighty. So that's our flats. I'm also going to, and I usually do this first, I'm going to call this big flats. And I'm going to select all of the colors on each character and fill that with a color underneath here. And that's just so later on, if I want to like grab an entire character and do a quick shadow or change something or shift something, it'll make it easy to do that. It doesn't matter what those colors are again. And again, random colors. So this is what this looks like underneath. And I can jump to that and grab any of that stuff if we want. I'm going to lock that down. I'm going to make the flats a reference layer and make a new layer on top. We're going to paint on. And I'm going to call this the base. And I guess let's start talking color plan on this. So, excuse me. So I talked with Geoffrey briefly, and he wanted. So there's an area here. I want to just make this clear real quick. This little area back here is going to be like a, some kind of I don't know, some kind of something has been performed, some ritual, who knows, and we've opened up this portal into hell or something, and he's wanting like some cool underlighting coming out of this. I'm a big fan of like in World of Warcraft, you've got like the Fel magic, and the Fel magic is green, like a greenish yellow kind of color, and that also just so happens to be an excellent complement to her costume, so which is normally red, and so there'll be some of that in here, or we'll do that. But then for the rest of this, I'm thinking that we will do some. I say we, I mean me, not you. I will will do some more localish colors, I would say, like on her, especially for the skin. We'll also be doing some of that same kind of fell green lighting magic down here coming up between these rocks and things. So we'll have some of that splashing onto her. And everything else we'll kind of figure out as we go. So, or at least I think I will. So I'm going to start this by, we're going to turn all the lights out. All right. No lights. Well, this would be no lights, and that's kind of hard to see. So I guess you could call this like your, what do they call it? Your ambient light color, I guess. And because I think I know that I want that magic to be green, I think I want that to, as far as contrasting with the total ambient light, have all of that kind of lean toward something warm, and so kind of where it is right now would be like a good dark base. So you can, I'm trying to think of how to imagine this light. So right now there's no light sources on in this scene. And if there weren't any light sources on, like what color would the environment be? And that's something you sort of have to figure out. And I'm looking at this on an OBS because you guys see this a little bit. It's a little bit darker than I am. Well, no, it's not. I guess it's about the same. It's close. But you can think of this as sort of like my my base color if there isn't any lighting in the scene. And then we're going to add the lighting. And I had actually, Geoffrey, if you're listening, oh yeah, he responded. It's a cave ceiling. Okay, so yeah, the top of this too, like we're in a cave, so the top of this is like a cave ceiling that's really dark, and then what we'll do is we'll have this pool down here of magic kind of light the walls too, I think. So I watched you color the X-Men image. It was clean and fluid coloring, and in contrast, the Venom piece had more abstract strokes. Yet the final piece still made sense. What's the question? What would be I see the questions before. What would be your advice on perfectionism, context, abstract versus fluid and clean? I don't know. That's something that I still am trying to figure out myself at times. So it just depends on the feel of it. For that X-Men piece, just because the way it was drawn, super tight, clean lines, all that stuff, it's one of those things that to me lended itself to that kind of coloring. Geoffrey's work is very dynamic and loose, and it's tight where it needs to be, and it's loose where it doesn't need to be. that. And so to me, that lends itself to more of a, you know, of a looser coloring style. I'm actually just going to start, I think, with this pool. And maybe we just light everything from there and then work on everything else. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it all depends on the underlying art. Like my decisions first and foremost always start there. It's like, what does the art call for, you know? And again, I'm going to start very sort of loose on all of this, and then we'll kind of tighten it up. But I've never quite worked the way that I'm working on this today, so we'll see if it works. I want to separate out this little section because I'm going to probably be selecting it a lot. This is just the this is like the underside of our werewolf here. Yeah, let's do that a different color. And I tend to start, I tend to start with sort of middle tones to like, and value wise, I tend to kind of start in the middle of the color wheel. And that way, from there, you've got flexibility to go any direction. If you need brightness, you can go up. If you need saturation, you can go right or less of it or darker. And so, at least for me, it makes sense to me. Oh, did I mess up my flats? I did mess up the flats. Hold on one second. Let's select everything around that and then remove it. And there we go. Sorry. Go a little bit more saturated right behind her head slightly. One of my hardest jobs was a commission for I don't know what that means, supplement where I had to make it look like it was drawn in a field journal, deliberate imperfection. I still don't think I did that well. Yeah, man, it's one of those things that like takes some time to get used to, I think. And I'm keeping the CMYK preview right now on. So that way you can see the difference here. That's the regular RGB view. That's the CMYK view. And especially working with these greens, that will be easier to deal with. And I want to try to establish as much of the environment as I can so that I know what contrast like everybody else needs in order to stand out against that background. Because here we want this to feel dark. It needs to feel like we're in a dark place so that this light is light. And it's hard for me to try to figure out what's happening on the characters if I don't understand the patterns that are behind them. And so that's why I tend to start with backgrounds and then go from there. And this will go through multiple, levels of rendering, but we got to start somewhere. And all of this little stuff, like where we get into things that are more specific, then I'll start getting, smaller brush, a little bit more detail. But again, all of this, I'm not trying to make too bright because I know I want it to be really bright from underneath. And I probably do need to separate this in the flats. So let's separate this out real quick. Oh, thank you for the 70 czar. What is a czar? I don't know what that is. It's got to be what, $1 million? Okay, the line work and artist style determines it, but to be honest, I struggle with being loose in general. What would your advice be? Oh, well, thank you. South African rand. Interesting. I'm always fascinated by how big the internet is. I'm not too old to not be fascinated by it. What would my advice be for being loose? I would just practice the idea of being loose first. And what I mean by that is like, and do you draw? Like, if you draw, like, try to do something really loose. Whoops. What just happened? Oh, I hit... I lost that whole selection. That's what happened. I accidentally hit the wrong thing. Sorry. We'll redo this. So yeah, I told y'all, you get your selections get too complex and you lose them. We'll try that again. But my advice would be to, like, maybe attempt to do a very loose drawing. Just get into the feel of, like, of how that goes. And then, find a little section and start tightening it up. And what section? Well, something important. Because that's my advice whenever people say, like, the toughest thing about drawing or writing even, is that blank sheet of paper. And I tell people all the time, like, if I'm starting a drawing and I don't really know where everything's going to go, I might literally just to not have a blank sheet of paper say, well, okay, well, I think I want my main figure to go there. And he's going to have this thing behind him, and in the front there's going to be that thing. Like, if you know that you're going to have something like that, well, you've now got something to work with. Like, even though it's completely abstract, it has nothing to do with the shape of a body, or has nothing to do with whatever's going on. This could be a house, or a building, or a car, or a person, or a bug on a leaf. Like, it could be anything. But it gives you... If it's nothing more than just, I want my thing to go here and I want everything else to just support it. Well, now you have something to go off of, and you don't have a blank canvas anymore, and if that makes you uncomfortable, then, lower the opacity on it and then draw on a new layer. That's the thing about digital is nothing's permanent. You can delete things forever, and hide things from your image very easily. So, that would be my advice, is to go from there. It's perfect. Stop right there. Yeah, thanks, guys. Geoffrey said this is fine. About $5. Okay, I thought it was $1 million. You caught my cold. I'm sorry. Just the fact that there are other people here on the other side of the world from me talking live still fascinates me. Yeah, same here. Same here. All right, so let's get back to what are we doing here? This goes all the way over there, and that is not this. I'm trying to highlight just the sides of the what you call it? Why is that not filling? What am I doing wrong? Oh. Wait a second. Never mind. I see what I did. There we go. Excuse me. All right. So now, I think I've got all of the... Why is this not... Okay, there we go. Sorry. So now, again, I'm just going to grab a color that's already here. And using a big soft brush. Sorry, I forgot to do that little part. I'm using the edge of the brush. Most of the brush is way down here. Right? And this is just like a soft round airbrush, nothing fancy. And then when I get done with that part, we'll erase from there, and then we'll pump this up a little bit. So it's already starting to feel like we've got something brewing in there, right? Now, right now, there's nothing under. All of this is under the ink, and so it's not. It doesn't really appear to be. Hold on, am I drawing on? What just happened? I think my computer is haunted. My base layers disappeared. There we go. What am I doing today? COVID is affecting my brain function already. It's too late. Big flats contain your principal characters. Yeah. And what else? We'll spread some of this around. And I don't want much on the top surface on the back side, because that needs to, you know, this side of the floor is reflecting a bit coming off of the our werewolf guy here. But you wouldn't get that as much on the back side back here. And so we'll paint that away. And that gives us, now we've got at least something to sort of go on for all of our other color choices. So now this drawing has, like, I would say, actually, I'm going to disclaimer up front here for a second. I think very analytically about my art, which is if it is not a shock to anybody that's been around here for a while, but I kind of break this down as having two, well, because it does. It's not like I'm making it. We've got two major elements here. We've got her in the front that will need to stand out from what's behind her. And then we've got these two guys. So what I'll do with them is they'll be a little bit closer to the background colors. They'll still have all sorts of different colors. They'll have plenty of contrast to stand out, but they'll be closer to that background than she will. I want her to come forward a little bit more than they do. And this is all in the line art. If you'll notice, let me turn this off. You can see a little bit better. The lines around her are much thicker, you know, again, to kind of help create that separation between everything behind us. So, you know, Geoffrey's use of like line weight contrast is like perfect, because all of this back here is much thinner. There's still just as much detail, but it's not pulling forward the way that the rest of it is. And so let's start with our werewolf gentleman here. And okay, I'm gonna lie on my side and watch till the end. Just want to show support. Keep being awesome. Thank you, Teddy. I appreciate that. I do. Thank you very much. All right, and what am I selecting? So I'm gonna select the werewolf here, and I'm gonna start with what's there, which is this sort of deep red color. And we're gonna saturate it a little bit. We're gonna lean it toward brown a little bit. And let's see what this looks like. And I'm again like really following Geoffrey's plan here, because he's really good with lighting and shadow, and he'll be a good colorist when he figures out that the same rules he's applying to his lines he can apply to color. It's the same stuff, man. You can do it. He likes to give himself a hard time about being a bad colorist, but I don't agree with him. All the skills are there, man. And I'm just avoiding all the areas that are already bright green. I know I don't want them to be this color. And again, just kind of following the contours that he's got on here already. And I'm just thinking in terms of like, I'm sculpting this guy out right now. Like, so I don't know if you guys know anything about sculpting. I don't know a whole lot about it. But you can imagine that everywhere that I am putting this light, I'm packing on a little bit more material on this guy and building him up. And this is all one color. I'm just varying the opacity of and how hard I'm pressing on the brush to brighten up all the little areas that are coming forward here, or that I want to appear to be lit here from the top. And I'm also thinking in terms of contrast on him, as far as like, I'm always thinking about contrast, as we know, but I'm sort of imagining. So imagine you guys know how earthquakes work. You get like an epicenter, and then you get like, you see the map and you get the waves, how far it traveled. So like the epicenter of the contrast on him is, here, or on his face, and it's in ash and everything. It's kind of this whole area. But as we're talking about him, you can think of it in terms of his face, and especially his hands. That's really what we notice, like as human beings, when we see something, whether we realize it or not. We subconsciously look at faces. Are you smiling, or are you frowning? Or something worse. And then hands, where are you carrying something? Do you have a weapon? Do you have an apple? What's going on? Like, as human beings meeting other tribes of human beings, this is what we did. And so there's more detail in his drawing in the face and hands, obviously, but I'm thinking in terms of maximum contrast here, and then sort of, you can imagine waves of this going away from it, and the further we get away from that point, the less contrast I'm going to create, because that means that as I get further away, and again, this is in the drawing already, I'm just following what's here. There's less contrast between him and this guy up here in a place that doesn't matter than the other places in the image. And I'm going to do that on everything on here. I'm going to focus a little bit more attention here, And as I move down the character, a little bit less, a little bit less. Like, does that mean I don't render it or I don't do anything? No, it just means that I limit how much contrast there is as I go down. Like, it's a gradient. And what this does, our eye is pulled to contrast. And so you end up creating all these cool little focal points that make your drawing cool. Cooler. This is already a cool drawing. Cooler. And don't color on the lines. Color under the lines. This is sick drawing, Geoffrey. It is. Hey, Dennis, how's it going? That's genius. All art has an epicenter. It does. There's different. I'm throwing different analogies at y'all because I try them all, you know. And right, and these are all, like I said, the principles of this are already here in the drawing. So, all right, what color, what kind of crazy eyes we want to give this guy? Yellow, maybe? And again, at this point, I'm just thinking roughly about the local colors, and then we'll come into this later and tighten everything up. And let's go ahead and do, so his shirt is, hold on, I think my flats are a little screwy here. This needs to go, I think, hold on. Hold on. Where are we going? This to here, to here, to here, I think is his shirt. Geoffrey, let me know if I'm wrong here. I'm trying. And he wears blue, right? All right, here's a good lesson for you. So, like, let me double check his yeah, so he wears a long sleeve, very blue shirt. I mean, it's like that color, like the statue. I'm looking at the statue right now. It's about here as a base, I'm thinking, somewhere. So if I just hit that color hard right here, does that look like it belongs to this environment? Okay. It doesn't very much. Now I might pull some of this color into this later, but this is not where I want to start. Okay. I want this to feel like it belongs in the environment. So I'm going to open up the hue saturation slider, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to darken it a little bit and bring it kind of in line value-wise with everything else. And the only other thing I'm going to do is desaturate it a little bit. And he's going to start to belong a little bit better to this. It already is not as shocking as it was before, but it still looks blue. It still looks like he's wearing blue. But and I could probably take this way down saturation wise, and it's still going to look cool because everything else on this image is warm. And so as you get closer and closer to gray, when that gray is surrounded by red or warm colors, it cools off. Even that green is a warm green right now. It's closer to yellow than it is like a cool green. And so that doesn't mean later that I can't go grab that color and make it a part of, his rendering so that we get some of that in there, but it's not flying off the canvas at us as it looks like it might. Oh, his mouth does this. I see it now. That's hair, isn't it? Am I reading that wrong? Let me know if I'm right or wrong here. I think that's all hair. That makes way more sense. I think we're in the ballpark anyway. Let's see. You got it? No? Yes? That's it? Okay. All right. Yeah, I knew I was in the ballpark. Anyway, I'm just gonna tone some of this blue back down for now. And what color are his pants? I don't know. I don't know this. I know people are like cultish about those movies, but I saw them once, and I was not old enough to watch it when it first came out, and so I don't have the I don't have the nostalgia for Ash that some do. So I don't know what color he wears. He wears brown pants. So again, shifting toward brown a little bit. He's about the same color as our werewolf. And the shoes, what shoes does he wear? Some kind of dark brown boots. Oops. Yeah, and we'll light him up later. That'll really come forward. And then the chainsaw is red. And again, I'm just trying to keep all of this kind of in the ballpark of where everything else is at the moment. Nothing too crazy. And then this is that color. Oh, I didn't separate that out. I'm really not going to do much on his skin because I'm going to do most of the rendering on the skin just directly later. It doesn't need to be that different. And you can also notice like just how much these grays kind of come forward. I mean, not from a value standpoint. They're not that much brighter. But that gray creates a lot of contrast relative to the colors around it. And what else? We got a demon dog over here. So what color is he not going to be? Pop quiz. If you know how I think about these things, what color is this dog not going to be? He strikes me as a brown pants guy. Always wear your brown pants in a zombie apocalypse. Gotcha. But yeah, so right now, everything I'm doing is setting up so that the red of her costume comes forward quite a bit. Everything else around it is much cooler and much greener. And so what I don't want to do is make the dog red because that would sort of pull away from that. So I'm going to make him warm, but I'm not going to make him red because I want the only red, really red on this image to be her costume. Even this, little bit of chainsaw back here appears to be reddish at least anyway, but it's not that fire engine red though. And we'll probably make these eyes glow later. we'll do his teeth later and his claws later and all that stuff later. More like a purplish colored demon dog. Yeah, purple might be a little bit too unique on this, especially with the green for my taste. But anyway, all right. And her hair is usually cool and dark. And I'm actually going to go ahead and just, let's make this red. And that is about as fire engine red as we can get. And then, let's see, what color is her little armband? Does anybody know without me going to check? Gold? Thank you. I knew somebody would know. I'm actually gonna, we'll start with that in a real deep red, and then we'll make it gold in the at the end. And I actually like this color for her skin. I think I'm gonna desaturate. No, I want to saturate it or desaturate it. I'm gonna desaturate it a little bit. I think we'll use that as a base for her, because these green lights, any light that's on the cool side, greens and blues and those kind of things, relatively speaking, will tend to neutralize skin tones toward like a gray. But it's Vampirella, so we're not going to do that completely. But I do want that as sort of a base. And I think from here, I think I kind of want to continue with this green light first. And then we'll do the other stuff, which is, again, kind of the opposite of what I normally do. But do I want to do that or not? I'm thinking. Yeah, we're basically at the rendering stage at this point, so I told y'all I reinvent the wheel every image. All right, we're gonna start with our puppy dog buddy, and where do we want to begin? Yeah, I think I'm gonna start by I'm gonna grab some of this green and make sure that's set to display color. And we're gonna zoom up a little bit, and I'm gonna start throwing around a little bit of this along the bottom. And this should now I'm also thinking in terms of the light from the top, and I'm staying away from those areas because I am going to do some lighting on the top from him, and I'm kind of thinking ahead of the fact that I don't want these greens in those areas. And so I'm really just thinking about them in terms of putting them on the bottom of everything here. The dog she's petting would look sweet in the American Werewolf in London. Maybe so. I don't know if I've ever actually seen that movie. Come on, clip. Autosave. And kind of already did it over here. We'll just kind of flesh this out a little bit more into like the contours of his arm. And again, painting the green away from the top. And maybe we get a few little specks in his teeth from down there. Not a lot, because his jaw would block most of it. And let's just continue on with this light around here. And again, the closer we get to the bottom, I'm going a little bit brighter just to try to show the direction where it's coming from a little bit. Rick Baker's work was fantastic. Oh yeah. Yeah. And again, like, we're gonna light these people from the other side too, but I do want to get a little bit of this green thrown around in here. All right, we're getting there. How do you do this? Well, I pick a color and then I put the color on the canvas. Yeah, I also like it definitely helps to have like I think what they call spatial reasoning, or at least they did when I was a kid, and I scored really high. Like really high, I must say, if I may say so myself. But yeah, they were like, yeah, he's kind of off the charts on on spatial reasoning. They kept giving me, I was in like second grade, and they kept giving me more and more like these complex, what would you call it? They were like shapes that were like 3D shapes that had been exploded and like unfolded in a bunch of weird, ways, and you had to figure out which ones, like how once you folded it, what it would look like was one of the questions I remember. And they were like, second graders don't do this. I'm like, I did. So I'm saying all of this not to brag on myself, but like when it comes to being able to see something in your mind in 3 dimensions and sort of spin it around and look at it and flip it, and I think I have strong instincts for that, of no fault of my own. And so when you're doing things like trying to decide where the light goes, that comes in really handy. And it's also one of those things that just, again, I've practiced so much, like so much. the curse side of that is it's hard to turn it off. Like I really almost could not get into Avatar yesterday because I couldn't stop looking at things. Like, I mean, it's like it's really really pretty, and it's sometimes hard for me to turn that off. It's like I'm seeing the special effects and not the movie. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Whatever condition that is, I have. It comes with it, I guess. The force is strong with this one. Alrighty, let's do. I'm gonna get my brightest color that I have here, which is not very bright. This is like a mid-tone. It shows you how far we have to go with the contrast here to get all the way to white. So we're gonna slide it up a little bit, and I'm gonna shift it a little bit toward orange. And is that a color we like? Hold on, I'm looking. Maybe so. A little bit more orange. A little bit more orange. There we go. And so this is still for the purposes of this drawing a mid-tone. I'm not really getting into even highlights yet. But each time I add another color, I'm doing that same sort of mental breakdown of where it's going, how much of it is showing up, all of that stuff. And I'm focusing the, what would you call it? Well, it's just contrast. It's all, I'm trying to figure out a word to use that wasn't contrast, but I don't think I can. That's all it is. More contrast. And again, I'm just staying away from the green light. And I'm going to switch to, I'm just going to merge this down. I'm going to switch to my pencil tool. And what if, I'm going to try something here. Am I on a new layer? Yeah. I'm going to throw some stuff around here, and then after the fact, I'm going to change it and see if this is what I want. So this is the ugly version. Hold on. And I'm imagining this being interesting lighting from the top. It's not quite there yet. But I was on a new layer, so I can change it after the fact. Where do I want it? I don't want it to be green at all. I want it to not be green so that it doesn't mix with the green. Maybe right about there. So now that I've got what I think color I want to start with, I'll start sort of following the contours a little bit more on all the little individual hairs and things, and thinking about bringing all of those forward a little bit. And again, I'm not just equally lighting every hair. I'm trying to concentrate this like around his eyes and face and I'm not just putting tons and tons of fur on this guy. Like I'm just like hinting at the fact that there's a little bit of fur here, and your brain will fill in the rest. Like I'm not doing every hair. That's what I call making it pop. Yeah. Geoffrey, what is this right here? What is this right here? And I feel like this might be something, but I'm misreading what that might be. It might not be anything. But let me know. If you're still here. Oh, you just said something, so yeah, you're here. And I believe that's a scanning error. Okay, I'll patch it up later. And I'm probably gonna mask some of this away. It's a little too uniform for my taste, so even what I'm doing, I'll sort of fade some of that out. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So all of this stuff is on one layer. I'm just going to put a mask on that with like a soft brush and sort of paint some of this away. Like I'm not even all the way, but I'm taking some of the sharp edges off and from the top so that it fades a little bit more toward his face. And again, these are highlights, but they're not bright. Like relative to what's around it, they're a little bit brighter, but not much. And so to really make him look shiny, I'm going to get really bright. I'm really probably yellowish, or hold on, let me see. Let me pick a... Let me merge that down. There. That's a highlight. So we did all that just to build up so we can get to these little small specular highlights that really make everything look cool. Or at least to me, this is the fun part. And I'm thinking of this as like a 3D model or something that... And there's a really convenient light somewhere on this to make this light up just like this. And all these little white areas are, again, I'm concentrating around his face primarily. The one thing that I am not doing a good job of right now, I don't think, is I want to try to get a little bit more wrapping around the top side. It looks a little flat to me. So Kurt, this process is often my favorite part, but I tend to overdo it. In the end, it destroys the true focal point because I go crazy. Yeah. That I would say that's a really common sort of headache, because I think everybody to some extent deals with this at some point. Um, but I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to select him again, and I'm going to do this on a different layer just because it's easier. And I just want to pull him, the back side of this, a little bit more into darkness. And it's very subtle, but I think this will help. Because I wanted to kind of appear to be coming out of the shadows here. And Geoffrey, did you intend, let me know, did you intend this to be kind of a rim light around the top here? Like this? I'm guessing you did. And that actually will help to give this a little bit more form, because now it looks like there's something on the other side of him. Hello from Baltimore. What's up, Calvin? How's it going? Good to see you. I did it just separate from the background. Cool, cool. Oh, I'm going to merge all this back down. Most of this I'm doing on, what did that do? I forgot Clip gets weird about merging things sometimes. That actually looks pretty good, though. I want to tone it down a little, but not very much. Yeah, I don't know what it is about, I can't quite figure out. Clip has different ideas about what merging does sometimes. Again, just trying to be sparse with the bright stuff. Yeah. Looking great so far. Kind of therapeutic to color and listen to the stream at the same time. Awesome. And I'm also going to, I want to get a little variation in, a little bit of variation in the underlying color, which I've already colored. So a good way to do that is with overlay, because it will not affect the underlying values very much. So if I start like warming this up a little bit, it's still leaving intact all the work that I did, but it's leaning him a little bit warmer there. And we'll kind of spread that out a little bit. And again, that also just really pulls him away from that green, because if you follow my not patented rubber band theory of color, if we tie a rubber band around our light source right here, let's say that's it's right about in there, and his base tones are, before I did that red, are, you know, kind of desaturated oranges, so they're like over here. So here's my base color, here's my foreground color. So I want you to imagine if I take a rubber band and loop it around those, that rubber band's got a certain amount of tension on it. Well, if I want to create more tension, I want to create more of an impact, I'm going to grab that rubber band and pull it all the way out here. It's the same rubber band, but now it goes to here. So now I have, and you can imagine that green light in the red fur, the further that rubber band gets stretched, the more tension there is, literally. And it also works for color. So by leaning him a little bit warm, again, it pulls him even further away from the green. It's such a simple way of thinking about contrast that I think people overcomplicate it. Like that's how I think about it anyway. All right, let's keep going. Let's do this over here. And I'll leave all that on separate layers, I guess, for now. It doesn't really matter. The rubber band theory. Yeah, I really do need to make a video about that. Like in my perfect world, I have a what do you call it? Like there's a 5-minute video that perfectly explains color theory so well that you no longer need videos explaining color theory anymore. That's like in my head, there's some version floating around that I feel is in there. I'm like, I just need to figure it out. Yeah, I just need to merge all this back down because it's just messing me up. I was doing better when it was just one layer. Excuse me. His face is really small in this, so I was probably overdoing the detail, but I'm guilty of that though. You've never seen my rubber band color theory? Yeah, it's everything. It's everything on this image. It's every image I ever do. I mean, here, like, all this background is bouncing between, like, the green light and this, like, really desaturated red. And so you can imagine it as sort of like a... let me get a color you can see. But you can imagine it as sort of being right around in here. From the... Oh, it includes some of that too, I guess. So like green... Sorry, I'm changing the shape of this. So our background is here. Right? And so... the further I get out of this background, the more contrast there's going to be. It doesn't matter which direction that it's in, I'm going to have more contrast when my whole background is sort of
right here. And so what I'll be doing is, you can imagine, again, like you can sort of imagine that rubber band, you know, sort of encompassing all those colors. And then anywhere that I want that object to come forward, you know, like on the werewolf, like I'm pulling it toward those oranges and yellows, you know. I'm on ash here, you know, I'm pulling it toward the blue. I don't have to go all the way to blue for you to think this is blue. I can just pull it in that direction. This is going to be blue enough, you know. Same thing on her. Like her skin tone is going to involve, you know, more yellows and oranges and reds and bright values that don't appear here. And so it works at every scale, you know. It's like it works on a global scale for the whole image, but then we can break it down to like just the werewolf, and like all the werewolf's base colors, you know, they all kind of live around here. And the closer that I'm getting to, you know, focal points, I'm pulling it toward orange, toward yellow, toward brighter colors, which I can't really show value on this, but you can imagine us, you know, just lightening the whole thing, you know. But anyway, that sort of idea will carry you a very long way, if you can wrap your head around it. Alrighty then, back to work. Plane going over. Hour 40. This might just be a long stream today. I think I can almost finish this today. We'll see. And I'm just grabbing colors from the canvas as often as I can. It's a shotgun, isn't it? Yeah, that's... I don't remember what kind of gun he had, but it was a shotgun, right? So the women in that picture will be in lower values than the wolf? No. She'll have a wider range of value than anywhere else on the image. Boomstick? Yeah. I don't know the movie that well. But while I'm thinking about it, I kind of have an urge to fill in some of these backgrounds a little bit more. Oh, hey, it's the line artist. Yeah, Geoffrey's here. If you're just joining us, the artist is here also. Awesome. Do I like that? Don't think I do. I thought about going a little bit yellow here, but not quite yet. Love the reflections in the puddles. Awesome. Do I like that? I don't like that. Sorry, I need to experiment here for a quick second. I want to try something. I don't know if I'm going to keep it, but I need a color that's not the color of the green. Just to that helps a little bit, yeah. Second. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wanted to cool off that, leaning it a little bit more toward blue. Just a little bit. And I'll fix up all of these glows a little bit later. And what else? I'm kind of saving her for last. I discovered your channel from Sean Murphy color video. Did explaining it's not about colors but values. Hugely helpful. Gotta say, loving the color and werewolf so far. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I mean, values are kind of critical. If you're choosing colors, quote unquote, and I would say your first thought isn't how dark or light it should be relative to what's around it, you're probably going to have a harder time choosing colors. That's how important it is. And also going to do some real sharp. I don't know. I got a feeling this guy is like sort of slick. Like he's not. This isn't a dog that's covered in fur. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to think about making him look like he's almost like wet. Not wet, but slick, let's say. Moist. Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be one of those we could spend all day on, I imagine. coming along, coming along. All right. So you know what? Before we do Vampirella, I think I want to get these glows a little bit better. I'll do this on top of the lines. And I'm going to color some of these so it looks like it's actually glowing. And doing it above the lines takes the black out of the lines. So we can do something kind of like that, but then we can also do a little bit of a glow over the top, like let's see if we do, how can we do this? One thing you can do is just overdo it like this, and then dial it back by painting it away from some places anyway. And then same thing on the bottom. And then to get that to match up with all of this, I'm going to brighten this up a little bit more too. What is the principal action in that image? It's not really about a principal action. There's two levels of things going on. You've got the girl in the front and the werewolf and the guy in the back, and they're all important. I mean, she's got a little more visual importance just because she's big and in front, but so. And there's not a lot of skin on this, and so the second you start using skin tones, that skin tone is going to become unique. And anytime you have a unique color, it's going to come forward, kind of like the red here. So anyway, let's go ahead and do some rendering on her. And I think I want to start with a soft airbrush. Let me tell you what, hold on. Let me merge all of this. I'm pretty much doing all of this on one layer with a few exceptions. But I'm first thinking in terms of just, again, like if I'm sculpting, I'm not starting by going straight into all the details. I'm just figuring out like I'm thinking cylinders at the moment, you know, her hands, her arms, her torso, like all this stuff is, we got some spheres. And we'll have the green from the ground down here lighting her up too. And I'm going to tone some of this. What layer is that? That layer. we lost a little too much contrast with the actual ground, which I didn't want to do. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. And we'll be tweaking this background. There's more to do here. And where do I want to start next? Let's actually do the green light next, I think. And I am going to do this on a new layer to start with. And then we'll merge it down once I figure out what the color is. I'd like for this to be a cover. Oh, you and me both. Now, Geoffrey, you had asked me about this part, about like getting light to look like it was fading. Like, can you see a little bit more now how this is not a technical trick, more than just I'm choosing the light color that I want. I'm going heavy on the angles that it's facing, and then I'm just lightening up a little bit in the areas that turn away, you know. But it's not so much a you know, a layer trick or something, you know. It's just you're just doing it. Or I'm just doing it. Now she's also, anytime you have a round object, you've got what they call the Fresnel effect, fancy term for it. And what I mean is, like, if you take a, hold on, warning, my face is going to be big. There we go. So, well, you guys can't really, can you see this from here? I don't know. Okay, so, yeah, you can kind of see it. So I want you to watch this edge, all right? This edge on this side. There's a little bit of I'll do it over this thing. So if I put my hand behind this over here, do you see? No, I'm not just talking about where my hand is, because it's not there. Do you see that little bit of light that's coming in on the right side of that thing as I get closer in there? It's very, very subtle. And it's not my hand behind it. It's reflecting. And my hand's literally behind this right now. So when you have a round object, like a torso, the light literally wraps around the edges. And that's what you're seeing, and you see little things like this or whatever. It's like this on the underarm. Like maybe that's wrapping around from what's behind her. And that also does the dual dual purpose of being able to separate that edge very strongly, you know. So it kind of does both. And I'm going to use the a blender to smooth out some of these hard edges, or not hard edges, but I really want this to be very smooth. But yeah, she would even have, I mean, most likely, if we want to be realistic at this angle, which I'm kind of leaning more toward realism, you know, there would even be a little bit bouncing off the ground, reflecting off of, and the ground is reflecting off of what's coming from behind her. You know what I mean? So that's why it still like looks right to have it underneath. So yeah, basically anywhere there's a cylinder, I'm thinking about that edge coming all the way around. Or just a round surface, like her arm or whatever. Now, I'm not going to do a bunch around her arms because it's probably, I'm going to light that from the top. Excuse me. Was I right that those are puddles, or is a fissure in the ground? Either way, it's cool. Yeah, these are like fissures in the earth, and these things are coming through. What I'll do at the end, too, like right now, it's a little too bright concentrated, so I'll kind of spread that out through some of these cracks and have it pump through there, too. I think that'll look cool. And you know what? This actually goes all the way out this way. I think I really captured that very well. Yeah. Alrighty. And realistically, again, like I figured since we're talking realism and lighting, like the angle of her leg here would actually, it would reflect quite a bit of this light here. Now that I'm looking at it, so I'm using a soft airbrush and kind of just filling that in a little bit more. Alrighty, and I'm gonna get a little bit brighter. I'm gonna lean a little bit toward orange, I think. And do I want... Let me just try it here and see if I like this color. I'm just scribbling this in real quick to see. Tell you what, let me merge that down. Sometimes I don't know where I want to start with a skin tone. I'll just scribble down some colors like this, and then after the fact dial in like what color that actually should be. And her skin would look weird with a lot of saturations, but to me, especially around all that green. So I'm keeping it kind of a mid-tone. And what brush do I want to use? I keep going back and forth on what brush I want to use. I don't want to use a textury brush on. I don't think like I have been, unless I blend it. I think I want a round brush. Yeah. Let's try that. I'm thinking more in terms of like sculpting than painting right now. It's like, where would all of the light sources be? Or where would the turns be? And what I'll do after I get these rough shapes in here is we'll start tightening them up. And I'm leaving a little bit of a terminator in there because light does that. That core shadow. I think I've always called it a terminator, but I think it's technically a core shadow. If you want to be specific. And what I mean by that is like, let's do a little lesson here real quick because we're going to do a lot of this. This is a cylinder, right? It's a squash cylinder. And if you go look up any lighting tutorials on a cylinder, you're going to see a highlight side, You're going to see a core shadow. You're going to see whatever's reflecting from underneath. That's all I'm doing. Like, this is basic. Like, this is why, like, when you go to a coloring tutorial, they're like, why do they do shapes and cylinders? And everybody's, this is why. Because everything, just about everything can be broken down like that. And anytime you put two colors, especially opposite each other on both sides of that core shadow, which is this little area here, it goes a long way to making that object look like it's got some form, So get a brush, a regular brush. So again, like, I can start very broad on her face. Like, I know it's going to mostly be in light, like the way that I'm coloring it here. And a little bit on her neck. And then we're just sculpting it away from where we don't want it. Like under her eyes, bottom side of her nose, maybe under here. Geoffrey trying to make me work on his nose. I'm kidding. I am going to do a little highlight across here. Sorry, it's saving. Is this recording? Yeah, we're going to have a nice time lapse of this once we're done. So you erase with the eraser you paint over? No, I'm switching to the transparency. So you can color and then erase with the same tool. You hit the letter C and it'll do that. Again, anywhere I want a little bit softer, I'm just grabbing this blender tool and smudging things around a little bit. Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and separate this. I'm tired of bobbing and weaving around this hand. It's the same color as her leg and the flats. So I'm going to go to the flats and just change that. And now I can switch over to my tools again, and I don't have to worry about dodging that hand anymore. So that's why I'm doing that, in case you're wondering. Again, big soft leg, big soft airbrush. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that leg darker. That's a good example of, like, don't equally do the same thing everywhere and think it's gonna work. Like, that leg does not need to be as bright as this leg. That's pretty obvious. Now I think about it. And let's color her teeth because they're bothering me. Brighten them up a little bit. And let's see. I'm going to get close to this and see if there's anything I want to smooth out any more. And let's see. Is all of that on one layer? Yeah, it is. So this is why I do this on one layer, is because basically at this point, if I wanted to saturate it, I could. If I wanted to desaturate it, I could. And it's not really merged down yet. I'm going to tint this a little bit toward green, because like there's some warmth in that pink that I just don't think looks good with the green. So I'm shifting it a little bit toward orange. Can always warm her back up again. And we're just gonna detail the crap out of her, I think. I haven't really done that in a while. So we'll split the difference. Do I want to merge this down? Let me merge it down. Have some confidence, Kurt. And so I'm going with a slightly brighter color, and we'll continue. And we'll see how I do with the facial rendering on this. It's something you can always get better at. And I feel like I'm definitely one of those people. Sorry you like the big legs. No, man, I'm kidding with you, dude. She got a big smile on her face, so that really, it pushes your cheeks up there, And that's why I'm doing this pretty hard transition on from the cheeks to the mouth and all that. And we've still got another pass or two highlights or brighter we can get with this. So how are we doing, Geoffrey? Are you okay with this? Sometimes, like I said, you could leave this flat and it would look pretty good, but I don't want to overcook it. You let me know if I start overcooking. FYI, her collar is white. All right, I can do that. So what we want to do is find, where is green? There's green. And turn that, desaturate that a little bit, because guess what? There's no such thing as white in here. Not in this room. Everything would be tinted green, right? We'll make the highlights white. What color is this ring? Anyone? It's either silver or gold. I can't remember. Gold, yellowish. All right. I'm about to take a quick break, and then we'll come back after I stretch my legs and refill my water over here. All right. Well, you guys come up with any questions so far. I will be right back. Come on, you can do it. There we go. There. Don't want to mess up the cool drawing. All right, we're getting there. Excuse me. This is just for fun, I think. I don't think it's an actual commission or anything, or maybe it is. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've done like a detailed just say skin like this. It's been a long time. I'm trying to remember what book I may have done this in or something like this. I don't know. I don't remember. Do vampires have subsurface scattering? Yeah, we're gonna do that at some point too. That's kind of why her skin feels a little dead to me, relative to like the werewolf. It's because even he's got a little bit of variation around his face, and there's a little bit of warmth there. So I've got a real quick trick for that. And if you take an overlay layer and pick your mid-tone like for your skin, saturate it, warm it up a little bit, and that's a good place to start. And then what we'll do is we'll kind of tap this along in the places where we want a little bit more life, and it warms it right up. And so it goes a long way to making skin look more like skin. And I'm focusing this more in just the transitions between the light and shadow. That will help. And you can do this at any point. Usually wait until the end to do it, but it's good to get some of these other colors in here. And I'll show you the before and after here in just a second. Because it's so subtle that it's hard to see it build up. But that's the before and that's the after. It makes the skin look much more alive. And if you look at the layer, it's just that. You know, it's just some subtle, you know, colors there. But her, we still got a little bit of headroom to get even brighter on her skin. So I'm going to do that next. Merge that down. I'm going to leave that overlay separate for now. I might decide to do something with that. I might not. We'll see. I must say I didn't know if I was going to be able to make this nose work because I'm usually terrible at noses. But this one doesn't look awful. Does it? I don't think so. I hope not. The nose is stellar. Okay, good. I was worried you wouldn't approve. Because I did pull that nose right out of my ass. Wouldn't be the first one, Geoffrey. Oh, man. I'm just messing with you, man. Was there ever a time your wife walked in and you coloring a thick woman and and went, "What are you doing?" No, dude, a thick woman on the list of weird stuff that I've had to do. This is nowhere on the list. What is the weirdest thing my wife is coming? No, it had to have been something in Money Shot, but man, yeah, I mean, there was a sex scene between a centaur and an alien. There was a sex scene between 4 people and a giant jellyfish. So, you know, some thick thighs are the least of my wife's problems. No, she doesn't care, man. She's cool. This is all uh yeah, I think it's a rule when you color whenever you color Vampirella, she's got to have all these little specular highlights everywhere like this, or it doesn't count. And again, I'm being very, very specific about where they're going. I'm not spreading them all over the place. And just a few little spots are all it takes to make something look like it's reflecting. And we'll also any time where things connect, adding just a little bit of a shadow will help to sell that. Doesn't have to be much. Excuse me. So you see now, somebody had asked earlier about, her needing to be lighter or much darker or whatever. Like, she's all of the above. She's brighter and darker, and there's just more contrast on her than anywhere else. I don't know if I'm done with her skin, but I'm going to take a break and catch up on... I don't want to get too far ahead without all these other implements being done too. So these are meant to be like gold yellow, but if you start with that, then you got nothing to make it look brighter, and so I'm starting a little bit darker and building it up. And this would definitely be reflecting green from down here. I tell you, Geoffrey, like your thought process of like where your shadows go are really, really solid, man. Like very, very solid. That's one of the reasons why I like working with them, is because I don't have to like finagle these things. They're just there, you know. I thought Clip Studio was gonna fix the what do you call it? The autosave window from pausing like that. I thought that was going to happen. Maybe not. You really have to trust the process. I laid back wondering how this is going to come out, and it's a beauty. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I was wondering myself, because I never really tried to do what I'm doing exactly like this. But I don't know how to get better or like learn things if I don't just try weird stuff sometimes. Alrighty. And for... she often gets painted, and even the way this is drawn, like... So, this is a good lesson. So, like, I want you to just focus on the drawing for a second. Sorry to blind you. But I just wanted to point this out. So her skin is obviously a different texture than her costume, and that's reflected in his ink lines. Okay, so this shadow here that he's drawn, that we only really see on the costume, is an indication to us that this is a different texture. And this is very elementary for some of y'all, but some of y'all it's not. I'm going to cover this real quick. But these ink lines are indicating that this is a really high contrast type of material. So like very often she gets colored with like very satiny type, texture. The inks are giving us that clue. Okay, so this is like, it's a good thing to be aware of. Same thing as like little gold bands. Like it's telling this is a different texture. And so when I'm coloring this, I'm going to keep that in mind and try to mirror his intention. So I'm going to start with just a big soft brush to get like the rough shape in here, and again, sort of following the contours of what's already here. And we'll focus on her feet in a second. And then I'm gonna sort of skip a few steps here, and on her skin, where I went through like several little stages building up, I'm gonna jump straight to a much brighter color, and also make sure that I'm really only showing the like the specular highlights here. Why is that not showing up the way I expect it to? Is that, oh, I did that on a separate layer. I didn't mean to do that. Let me merge all this again. I've done this a couple times now. But yeah, jump over to what would be specular highlights and get them in here right off the bat. And those, what that does, it immediately just changes the feel of what this material feels like. And if it's reflective, it's going to reflect everything more, and that includes the green and everything else going on in this. So I'm going to add that in here too. And then to like polish it off, we'll go like all the way to almost white. And add a few little indications in here of that. And it starts to feel, like it's made of something other than just a flat color. Cool. I think Vampirella's boots are black. Yeah, he colored them differently too, I noticed. I was just looking at that. I'm just going to go down to the base and turn this down. And then we can grab that green. And she's right next to it, and they're really reflective, so I'm shining a lot of that green on there. And then over here, maybe we just warm it up a little bit. Alrighty. We're getting there. Alright. So we got all the main elements, I think, done. It's all going to be about tweaking from here on out. Sorry, I want to saturate his pants a little bit more. All right. If you follow the line weight would get thinner. Yeah, there's different ways of doing line weights. There's definitely not a right and wrong way. And where do we want to go next? I'm just going to do like a quick I think I'm going to do a quick just detail pass on all of this real quick. I'm going to do it on a levels adjustment. And lean it green slightly. So this is just, it's an easy way to get a lot of detail in very quickly without really picking a whole lot of bunch of colors or anything. And it's a levels adjustment. If you're not familiar with that, it's brightening, and I also have it leaning a little toward green, very, very slightly toward green. And so it's brightening what's here a little bit. And I don't have to choose any colors. We're gonna have some special effects too. Like we're gonna have some glow, a little subtle glow around that. We'll do that in a second. But this is a good technique to get like just more stuff in here very quickly. And when you're doing things like hair or anything that is heavily textured like that, just hinting at it, like in the transitions, in the specular highlights, like all that stuff will save you the time of thinking you have to like do every little hair, because you don't. And again, this is subtle, but it's just a little bit brighter, a little bit more intense. And because this light is green, I'm just using it to pump this up in the background too. Or it leans slightly green. It helps to have a selection. All right, and I'm gonna select all of that minus that. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. It'll make sense in a second. All right, and on top of the lines, oh, this should continue down this way. There we go. And now we're really starting to get a sense that, like, there's some bright energy down there. And I'll clean up this edge a little bit in a second. I'll just put a mask on that, and whoops, that's what I meant to do. Put a mask with no selection, and then I'll come in with a brush and remove it where I don't want it. Yeah, I used my flats to make that selection, so it's not really it's not a perfect selection when you have something you want to go over the lines. You kind of have to paint it away afterward. I'm leaving a little bit of it in places because it looks cool, but not everywhere. Cool, cool. Nice glow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're not even done with them yet. We're getting there, though. I probably should have waited until I did all the glows to do that cleanup, because I'm going to have more of it. I'm going to have more of it to do. Oh, well. And now we're cleaning up again. Let me make sure there's no other glows that I want to do. I don't think there is. And now we're going to clean this up again. I don't know. If I left it, you probably couldn't really tell, but I could tell. All right, so now I'm going to lighten this up a little behind her. And then we'll do, it should look cool if we do some of these rocks catching some of this light. I don't want to light them all up, but I do want to give it some indication that there's maybe little bits of rock that are standing away from the rest, and it makes it look a little bit more natural. And I'll do some more, like I said, I'll do some more of this, like splitting up around here, I think. Excuse me. What makes you pick an iPad or PC for drawing? Depends on what you like. I mean, I'm using a PC because the way that I work revolves heavily around a lot of selections and tools and things like that. And so when that happens, I personally don't find an iPad good for that because there is I'm much faster with a keyboard. Much faster with a keyboard. And it's not, why is that not coloring? Come on, Kurt. Oh, you're using the blending tool. That's why. It's still a blending tool. There we go. Excuse me. But yeah, Geoffrey set this up like perfectly, in my opinion, as far as like now we also have like this nice green halo like right around our main character. So there's that. We'll start detailing some of these rocks down here. How are we doing? Questions, comments, concerns? Don't need critiques at this point or anything. Don't really do that. But feel free to fire away. Like I said, I think I've conditioned y'all to not ask questions because when you ask questions, I stop coloring and start talking. Sorry. CSP is on sale, $35 in tomorrow. That's a good price. Excellent price. You said this project was new or different in some way. Just in how I started it, it was a little bit different than what I would normally do. Starting with the single light source like that. I mean, it's subtly different. It's not like it's completely different, and I'm also not doing a ton of layers. That's a little different than normal. I usually work on a few more layers. But yeah, I'm trying to really it's about just trusting my instincts a little bit more than what I have in the past. I've got pretty good instincts for picking colors. I just don't trust myself enough, and I'm working on that. And this is on top of the lines, just to help get this effect that I'm looking for here. because I'm not a huge fan of doing like really specific like shaped shadows when it's not necessary. I think it's a common sort of issue with new colorists is they think, oh, I've got to perfectly outline like her butt and shape it and make it like, no, just make it darker. Just darken it a little bit. All right, what else? What else? What else? I'm gonna do again just a little bit over the lines in a few strategic places. With some of these dark hairs on the bottom, brighten them up, kind of brings him, makes some of these hairs look like they're trying to muddy up that edge a little bit, basically. And I need to, well, I'll do this under the lines. I'm gonna pump up this green. It was bright enough earlier. It's not now. All right, how we doing? Checking out your website, Geoffrey, doing great stuff. Oh yeah, you guys definitely go find Geoffrey on wherever he is. Instagram, YouTube. No, not YouTube. Did I put your? I forgot to put his link in the description. I think. Let me do that real quick. Yeah, go to it's facebook.com/madprops, the art of Geoffrey Gwin. I will link that to y'all. There we go. And I'll put it in the description for later. If there's another site you'd prefer to have in the description, let me know. I know you're active on Facebook. All right. So now what? Let's do our little dog is looking a little like he's just not happy. He's not enough detail. And I think he needs some glowing red eyes. Yeah, I need to separate his teeth also from the rest of this. Although it doesn't look bad. Sorry, I don't ever know what to talk about when I'm just doing this. I'm like, what color are her fingernails? Are they red, black? Is there a canon color? You're gonna make them red. Oh, her teeth. Again, don't ever do it. Don't ever do teeth. not in people. The only thing that I'm wondering if know if he's quite separated from that background enough. Let me lighten that a little. And maybe it doesn't have to be green. Let me cool it off. That does help a little bit, I think. It's a little green overload over there. You gotta break it up a little bit. Let's see what else. We're getting there. Auto save. Sorry. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. Yeah, it's all tweaks from here on out. There's not a whole lot. I kind of want this dog to not be this color. I think. Not I think he's too close to the color of the werewolf. So if we I just took some saturation out, and that helps. I kind of lost the intensity of those green highlights, so I'm just gonna see if I can cheat this with an overlay layer a little bit. Excuse me. That does look better. Because what happens is what you're trying to avoid is this reading as a shape. You know, if it was all one color, it would all sort of read as one big shape. That's not really what we want. Geoffrey, is there anything on this that is bugging you, or that you would like to for me to adjust or anything like that. I'm gonna put like he's got a blade on there, maybe. But yeah, I think this is I think this is pretty close. I'm gonna select all her skin and go to a levels adjustment. We're gonna brighten it a little bit. We're gonna darken it a little bit. And we're gonna push the midtones up a little bit. Before, after, before, after. It's subtle. It's subtle. And let's see, is there anywhere that would be interesting to color the lines? And I want to say maybe, yeah, we'll do some of this, I think. We'll shift these around. I'm going to put a clipping mask on the lines, and I don't want to paint them away. I just want to sort of minimize these a little bit. Am I going crazy? Is that not changing? Oh, there it goes. Okay. I lost the chat. Where'd the chat go? That one is best. Yeah, I thought you liked linking Facebook. Will you post this live stream later? I might leave it up. We'll see. This looks awesome. Thank you. I think so too. Let me fix. He said there was an inking issue over here. I think it's that. And that. And that. Sorry that I'm doing more staring at this than coloring at the moment. But that's sort of where we are. You can't have enough rim lights. And let's go into this light and sort of selectively pump this up a little bit. And all of that just helps to add to the sense of roundness Going to cut out early. Actually going out to see Black Panther 2. Oh, awesome, Chris. Have a good time. We're almost done here. We're close to wrapping it up. Yeah, we're getting warmer. What if we did that? I'm looking at the reason I'm thinking about adding that, and I'll have to clean up that edge a little bit, but if I add that, I've got a great, like, just basically green bright stripe right down the middle of the image. And it helps to do something. I don't know. It helps with the flow for sure. What layer was that? I've already forgotten. Oh, it was on a clipping mask. Just trying to mess this up where that line is too hard. All right. Well, people, I think I'm about ready to wrap this up. Last call for any questions you might have about anything. It doesn't have to be this particular drawing. It could be about anything. Sick? Yeah, I think so. I like it. I like it. Did I see the Knives Out sequel yet? Not yet. I'm waiting on my wife to have time to watch that too. I saw Avatar yesterday. I want to see Babylon, even though I've heard some negative reviews of it. I'm a huge fan of Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie, so I'll probably go see that soon. And here, I'll do a little zoom up here and show you guys before we wrap this up. I don't think I missed anything. There you go. Well, this has been fun, guys. Really appreciate you hanging out today. I'll leave this up on the channel, and we'll see how it goes. And I had a really good time with this today. There was a lot of little interesting things to discuss. When it comes to coloring, so that's always fun. And I think I want to pump. Sorry, I'm just not noticing. I want to pump up the. Right around those little highlights. We're going to pump that up a little bit more. It's subtle. It's subtle. And, oh, you know what I didn't do that I wanted to do? Let me do it real quick. It won't take long. I'm going to get my darkest color here. Which is on her skin, which is about right there. Maybe there. Add a little bit of warmth, add a little bit of value. And this would be like reflecting off of herself. It's subtle, but it goes a long way. And like here, like it would be reflecting like off of the suit itself. So what happens, what causes this saturation to happen is the light gets trapped. So you can imagine, what's a good analogy for this? Imagine something that looks like this, like just that can bounce around. You got an object where, well, let's say it's Batman. Well, the light comes in, it picks up the color of the object and bounces, and then it picks up the color of the object and bounces, and it picks up the color of the object and bounces, and each time it bounces, it gets more saturation each time. Now, it's not getting any brighter, but it's getting more saturated. A little bit brighter, but not that much brighter. And so what you end up with are these little saturation traps. Is what I've heard Marta Gracia call them, where they're basically reflecting off themselves. And if you add that, it just goes a long way to making the skin look, again, like look a little bit more realistic. Anywhere that it would bounce off itself. There you go. All right. I think that's enough. How do you get multi-undos? You just keep hitting Control Z. I don't know how else to answer that. Is that not the default behavior? If it's not, you might have to change it. I definitely have let's see, shortcut, menu, edit, yeah. So Control Z is just what undo is set to. Just double check that. And then redo is Control Shift Z. So you can go back and forth. But yeah, just if this is not Control Z, then just keep hitting Control Z. And this is Clip Studio, not Photoshop. I don't know if that makes any difference. The default is unlimited undos. I don't know if it's unlimited or if it's just a lot. Let me see. Tool. Tablet. Touch. Gestures. Commands. Undo levels 100. I've got it. So, well, it's set to 100. I don't know if that's the default or I don't think I would have set it to 100. It probably just is 100. But yeah, you should have plenty of undos. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in Photoshop and take a look at it. I still don't completely trust Clip Studio. Yeah, we're in the bonus portion of the stream now where you have to really be into this. Anyone still watching is a nerd to their core about coloring. That's for sure. Just like me. Excuse me. Oh, you know what? I gotta reopen it because that's a clip file. I gotta save it as a PSD. Color nerds for the win. I see y'all. I see you're out here. Let me see. Okay, so it doesn't change too dramatically in RGB here, but let me go ahead and export this time lapse before I screw up this save. One time I accidentally did like a save as PSD, or I did something, and a PSD obviously doesn't include the time lapse. And so see notes to myself, flat this tonight. Well, yeah, this will be a fun time lapse to make a short out of or something. But yeah, and I lost my time lapse doing that, so I try to remember to do this now immediately so I don't screw it up. Yeah, we'll watch. I usually like to watch these too right after. We'll watch it and then we'll go into Photoshop. CSP makes its own time lapse. Yeah, man. Yeah, it does. It's a touch limiting on the times. Yeah, it's not particularly full featured. Like there's really only you get to decide how long it is. Like there's like a 30-second version or a 5-minute or whatever, however long it takes. I usually just do the full at whatever size. The biggest it'll do, I think, is like 1280 tall, which is, I mean, it's good enough for like a 1080p video. So that's all I need. I'm not doing 4K yet. We'll save that. And let's watch this real quick, and then we'll go into Photoshop, and here, I'll restart here. You guys all seeing this? Oh, yeah, like I said, that was a note to myself. Do I want to flat this tonight? Yeah, this is the part that I had never really tried doing, was just like starting with one light source and then kind of working around it. It's a different vibe, different feel to working that way. You can pop it into iMovie to change the speed. Oh yeah, you can do whatever to the video. But this is only yeah, it's like a 4-minute video or something. I wish it had the flexibility that, like, old Procreate was built from the ground up with the time lapse thing, I think, included. But it's really cool how, and that's one thing I like about Procreate, is you can literally like zoom in during the time lapse and, like, you know, scrub back and forth and all within the app, and they definitely nailed that the first time. Yeah, that little bit of warmth on his head, was such a big difference. This also allows me to, like, kind of analyze myself after the fact. I'm really glad I changed that background to cool it off, because otherwise I think it would have weakened the green shape a little bit. But I like that green sort of being like the centerpiece almost. Not the centerpiece, but like from a lighting standpoint, having it be very dominant. My Instagram handle is K Michael Russell, but I don't ever use Instagram. I don't ever use any social media hardly. I'm a little bit into Twitter every now and then, and that's about it. And Twitter is on its last legs, I'm pretty sure. So, oh no, I hope nothing happens to social media. I hope it doesn't all disappear. That would be terrible. bringing about the end of humanity. That's my thoughts. Oh man. Yeah, it's funny once you get to a certain point. Again, it's all polish. Like there's like half the video left, and it's pretty much there. But yeah, we'll skip ahead here. Oh yeah, that brightness made a big difference too. And what that brightness did is it knocked back the dark inks on his hands. It knocked them back just enough to make that big dark area of her hair to come forward. That's what I was trying to get to happen there. Because within this little area, I really wanted only her hair to be black. You'll never guess why. Contrast. Yeah, and bringing forward his weapons helped a lot too. They were a little too hidden in there. And there we go. It looks like that's about it. Well, that was fun. All right, so let's save this as a PSD. The PS is open. Poor Ash, just hanging out in the background. Clip still thinking about it. All right. Don't crash on me now. Okay, we didn't kill it. All right, save as Photoshop document. Let's see. Nice. Okay, yeah, the only thing that's even remotely shifting is that green, which I kind of anticipated. That green is nowhere near as saturated as it looks. It's about halfway saturation. It looks intense just because there's nothing else like that part of the color wheel. That whole yellow green is so much brighter than everything else that saturation's insane. Let's see. I'm gonna go to curves and see if I want to darken this a little bit that way. And brighten the bright stuff a little bit that way. What I usually go for is like a very subtle S curve. If you pull it down too far, it darkens way too much. So, taking it easy. Same thing, you can brighten far too much. But it's effectively, it's brightening the brights and it's darkening the darks. And you can also play around with individual channels and get some interesting effects. So like if you really wanted to push the whole thing toward green, you can do that. I will sometimes do little tricks like this of like, you know, punch up the green everywhere. I don't know if I'm going to keep this. I'm just showing you as an example. And then like use the mask to paint that away from, let's say, the front. And so that effectively only affects the background. You know, it's not affecting her as much. There's the before, there's the after. The other thing that does is I'm going to also take it away or paint it out a little bit more back here. I don't want that green to come through quite as strong. I'd like that to be cool blue. So kind of paint that away a little bit. And that's subtle, but that one curves adjustment is doing a lot for us there. And what else can we do? I think that's about all it needs. I will sometimes, again, I don't think this needs it for just anybody that's still here. I don't know why. Well, let's just talk about this a little bit. There's also, what is it called? There's color lookup tables. Like, if you ever want to just kind of play around with what are effectively like Instagram filters sort of things, these LUT files, and they're not all winners or anything, but they affect the overall feel, you know. And these are all just stock, whatever comes with Photoshop, I think. But every now and then I will play around with stuff like this just to get an idea of like this one, for example. This is another one where on some images, what it's effectively doing is it's cooling everything off, taking some saturation out. Like it's affecting it heavily, which can be too much unless you're controlling like where, and so this is another one of those things where, take a mask and paint that effect away from one spot and leave the rest like it is. It's like, this is a little strong. Like I said, it kills a lot of kind of my intentions with this. But even with this, you can adjust how much it affects the background, adjust the opacity, all this stuff. This is what I mean when I say, like, it doesn't matter what your differences are, like how you're creating contrast, as long as you're creating it. It's like looking at it this way, we're more saturated in the front and less saturated in the back, and again, like, that doesn't actually look bad when I'm looking at it. But curves scare me. Some of those low saturation lookups make it look like an old Frazetta painting. Yeah, there's all sorts of there's cool stuff that you can sort of trip over sometimes doing this kind of stuff. Like most of this is, again, like, not really what we're going for, but it will sometimes give you an interesting result. So, like, that's cool. Like, it's a totally different feel, you know what I mean? Like, and didn't have to really do a whole lot, So anyway, I don't remember what this was on. Yeah, it kind of works with or without it, but I like it with it. I like all the saturation. Leave it alone, he says. Yeah, exactly. No, I don't want to kill all that saturation, but yeah, I do like the curves. I do like the effect of the curves on it. But I wanted to give you guys a couple of things to have some fun with. But anyway, thanks for watching. Check the description if you want to support this channel. I got courses on step-by-step how to color and clip and Photoshop and Procreate, and join my Patreon if you want. Join YouTube as a member. There's plenty of ways to spend money here. Just however you want to do it. Hope you had a good holiday. I feel like your voice is in my head. I'm going to go through your color theory course after finishing the clip one. It's like Christmas with Kurt for me. Well, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Geoffrey, thanks a lot for the fantastic drawing, as always. And I hope you learned something, man. You got it. You keep telling me how terrible your colors are. I'm doing my best. But yeah, take care, guys, and we'll talk again soon.